Hey everybody, welcome back to Why Wait. If you're new to the channel, I'm Chris, and today we have a great video for you. We are going to be talking all about RV accessories and essential items that you need to RV like a pro. Now, whether you're a new RVer or a full-timer like us, stick around because I can almost guarantee you're going to learn something today and see some pretty neat and interesting products. We're going to go over everything that we've basically acquired over 4 years of full-time RVing that has helped us out on the road and made camping and RV life a lot easier. So we got a lot to cover, so let's get to it. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk to you today about, and probably the most important, is your water and sewer setup. Having a good water and sewer setup is really important because this is going to save you from some unwanted headaches down the road. So let's go ahead and start with the very first thing, and that is going to be your water hose. This is going to be the hose that you use to supply water to the RV. We like to use the 0G water hose. We actually carry two of these, two 50-foot sections, because you never know how long you're going to need to reach the water spigot depending on what campsite you're at. So I always recommend carrying at least maybe two 50-foot sections. These hoses are great because they're lightweight, they don't kink, they coil up easy. And again, we do like to carry two of these hoses because that way we always have one hooked up to the camper for our water, and I always have another spare hose that I can use to wash the camper, rinse things off, clean cars and trucks, anything like that. But whatever hose you do go with, just make sure that it is safe for drinking. Now, speaking about safe drinking water, having some good filters is always important. If you're full-timers like us, you may go with a more advanced system, versus if you're just kind of camping for the weekend, you may just bring your own drinking water, and all you would really need is one of these inline basic filters. You can either get a Camco one. We use the Amazon Basics, as you can see right here. And this is just like a 5 to usually 20 micron filter. It's basically just going to filter out sediment, sand, that kind of stuff. But because we do use our onboard water for drinking, we have basically a 3-stage filter system where we like to use the inline water filter, and then we have the cabin water bay filter, and then we've also installed another filter underneath our kitchen sink, which is from a company called Blue Technology. And what's great about them is they use what's called 0.2 micron filters. And we can really get into this in another video. In fact, we do if you want to go check that out. But these filters are great because they're going to filter out, all of the parasites and things like that make your water safe for drinking. So if you guys are interested in those filters, you can go in the video description below, because we do have a promo code if you go to their website, and you can get 7% off all of their products. They make 3-stage water filter systems. They make solo water filtration systems like the one we have underneath our kitchen sink, and just some really great filters that are pretty universal for any RV. So I definitely recommend going and checking those out if you guys want some safe, clean drinking water. And as full-timers, not only do we have a great water filtration system, but we also like to use a water softener. We have this one right here from Camco. Now, this isn't essential for anybody who's just out on the weekends, but full-time RVers, this is pretty important because there's a lot of areas where you may camp that have hard water, and hard water can damage a lot of your appliances and water lines over time. Now, we also have a 2-way splitter that you can see right here, and we also have another 4-way splitter. I like to have these because it just gives us the option to leave the water hooked up to the camper, whether we're flushing the black tank or I'm connecting my other water hose to wash something down. I don't have to disconnect the water and have no water going to the camper. I can leave the water going to the camper, I can still hook up my black flush and flush my tank out, and I can still even use a hose outside without having to disconnect everything. So having at least one 2-way splitter is pretty nice, but just remember to always unhook it and take it with you before you go, because all too often these are left on the campground spigots, on the water spigots. When people pull out, you see it happen all the time. In fact, I think I've left a few behind myself. So don't forget to always unhook them and take them with you when you pull out. Next up, I always recommend traveling with a good water regulator. In fact, I always recommend hooking this up to the water first thing you do when you get to the campsite to make sure the water pressure is not too high and you can see what it's at. They have standard ones that are just usually you can just screw them on. They're just kind of set about 40-50 psi and you can't change them. I like this one right here because you can take a screwdriver and you can adjust how much water pressure you want, if you want less or more. You have to be careful with these RV water lines because they can be rated anywhere from 40 to 100 psi depending on your make and model camper. That's something you want to look into. So Making sure that the campground does not have too much water pressure and protecting your water lines inside your RV is extremely important, so you don't end up having leaks and things like that over time. Now, I can't praise these water quick connects enough. As you can see, I have these water quick connects connected to everything. When you want to just make a fast, easy hookup and breakdown connection with your water lines and you're not getting pliers out and screwing everything down nice and tight, I can just easily pop all of my water lines off and on as we move around, or if I need to change things. These water quick connects, they don't seem to leak for me. I have about 10 of these things. I have them on every hose, every splitter, my water softener. Can't recommend these high enough. These things are great. You can see I even have them go into these 90-degree elbows inside my water bay. And these 90-degree brass elbows are really nice because that's going to take all the pressure off of if you just had a regular hose connected right into your water bay. The pressure and weight of that hose is eventually going to probably crack these plastic fittings and connections. So having these brass 90-degree elbows, which I leave on here permanently, I never take those off, just make for a nice, easier connection for the water hoses to come into your camper. And one of the last things that you should get for your water setup is this SaveADrop flow meter right here. This is excellent for when it comes time to fill up your freshwater tank or when you're flushing your black tank out. All you have to do is hook this up, turn the water on, and it's going to read and measure how much water is flowing through there so you know how much water is going into your tanks. This way, when you're flushing your black tank, you can go ahead and close that black tank, set a timer still so you never forget that it's on, but this way you can come back in 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes and read that SaveADrop flow meter and see that you put 30, 40 gallons of water in your black tank, and then you can open it up, dump it all, flush it out again, and you want to keep doing this process until obviously the water is clear. And again, it's also great for filling up your freshwater tank. It's a great little product that comes in handy and we use it all the time. Speaking of black tank, let's go ahead and jump over everything that you need to have for your sewer connections. Having a good sewer hose is important. Some of the cheaper ones are kind of known to crack really easy over time, get baked in the sun. Now, we actually carry anywhere from 3 to 4 sewer hoses. It seems excessive, but there have been times where we've needed to stretch 3 of these out as long as we can to reach the sewer connection, depending on what campsite you're in. So it's always good to travel with some extra sewer hoses, and then you can even get one of these containers that mounts underneath the back of your RV, and it can hold 2 extra sewer hoses. So between that and our bumper container, we can actually store 4 sewer hoses when going down the road. Now, I definitely recommend getting some of these clear elbows as well for each end of your sewer hose. The 90-degree elbow that goes into the tank, and this one right here that you first connect, and it even has a little back flush that you can connect the hose to and blow some water up into your pipe if you need to clean it out that way. But having these clear elbows gives you a way to monitor what's coming out of your black tank. While it's not the funnest thing, I highly recommend always watching when you open it up, see what's coming out, make sure it's coming out, and then as you flush it and clean it, once you have clean, clear water, you know that the black tank is clean. Without these, you really just never know what's going on, if things are clumped, if things are breaking down properly, and things like that. Now, one of the most important things you can have is the Valterra gate valve right here. This is an aftermarket gate valve that you put on right before your sewer hose. This way, when you get to your destination and before you just open that little cap on your camper, anything that's in the pipe or is jostling around is going to come dripping out on you. But with the Valterra gate valve, you keep that gate valve closed, you get to your location, you hook up your sewer hose, and then you open that gate valve, and anything that was left over in your pipes or was jostling around while you're driving is not going to get all over you. And if anything ever happens and your black tank is not working and the valve on your black tank is not closing properly, this is a second line of defense to keep anything also from coming out, and you can use it that way. So definitely recommend this product. It definitely comes in handy. And the last thing for your sewer connections is one of these sewer hose supports right here. These aren't necessary, but there's times that this is going to keep your sewer hose up off the ground. It's going to give you a good angle going down to the tank, keep everything flowing through the hose properly. Now, as you can see right here, we don't really need one that much, but it does take some weight off of these hoses as well, and that's going to prolong the life of the hose instead of having lots of weight and have it kinking up in certain spots. So it's always good to travel with one of those. Something else you should keep close by your sewer connections in your basement is a good box of latex gloves so that you can always have those handy when you're dealing with these connections. I like to keep these cheap latex gloves right here on my sewer side, and then actually have some nicer latex gloves more like car mechanic ones that are a little bit more heavy duty, don't rip as easy for when I'm doing other projects around the RV. And the last thing I want to talk about for your black tank is obviously the most important, and that may be your black tank treatment. Now, for years, we just used the Happy Campers tank treatment, and we were really extremely happy with that. It always worked well. It kept the smell down, and I thought it broke down waste really well. But we've recently switched over to the RVDigest unique tank treatment, and they have lots of different tank cleaners and tank treatments. I'm going to go ahead and put links to this down below, as well as everything we talk about today. If you're interested in any of these products, just click on the video description and we'll have links so you can go check out and find all these products that we talk about. Now, like I said earlier, we do have a lot to cover today, so I'm going over everything pretty quick. But if you're more interested in some of these products, I'll also put video links down to videos about certain products that we're going to talk about today, where we did a whole video on these products, like the unique tank treatment, and you can go check out that video after watching this one, or just comment down below, and if you want to, reach out, ask me any questions, anything you want to know more details about, and I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. But as far as the unique tank treatment goes, it's another one that we've been testing out for a while, and so far so good. It's been breaking down the waste great. They have a toilet bowl cleaner and tank treatment all in one, so you can just drop the tablet right into the tank. It fizzes, it bubbles, you can clean your toilet and then flush it down, and it also treats your tank, so that's pretty cool. They have products to unclog your tanks, clean your sensors, and all kinds of things like that, so we've been really happy with them. Okay, next up, let's talk about tires and safety and things like that. And first things first is chocks. We love these Max Haul rubber chocks. This is what we use. We used to use the yellow little plastic ones. Didn't turn out those were so great. They seem to kind of slide around on pavement. Actually ran one over one time and cracked it. Forgot to pick it up way back in my early days of RVing. So I like these heavy duty rubber Max Haul chocks right here. They have an eyelet. If you want, you can tie them together. Some people like to carry them like that, but it's what we've been using over the past few years now, and they seem to have worked out well. Something else we carry around with us is these Lynx leveling blocks right here. These are good for putting underneath your jacks. If you have a smaller camper, they're good for putting underneath the tires to get the tires up off the ground. They come in handy, as well as I recommend just carrying some spare wood with you. I have 2x10 sections that I carry with me. They're cut. I use these under my jacks. I use these if I kind of need to bring one of my tires up off the ground higher if the site is really unlevel. So just having some spare pieces of wood on hand, you'd be surprised how handy that's going to come in. Sticking with tires, tire pressure monitor system. Having a good tire pressure monitor system is extremely important. We've had this TST tire pressure monitor system since day one. It's one of the first things we purchased. I definitely recommend you don't hit the road until you have one of these. These things are great. They can screw right onto your tires of your RV. They can also go on your truck. We have 10 of them programmed into the monitor. You can simply read how hot the tires are getting. You can read how much air is in the tires. So we know before we leave, if the tires need to be aired up, if they're low, if they're too hot, too high going down the road. This is going to hopefully save you from a blowout, because you're going to be able to read that tire and see when it's getting at a danger level of heat or if the air is getting too high. You don't want to blow out going down the road, and this can definitely save you from some accidents going down the road, protect your RV and your family. And if your air pressure is low, well, guess what? You need to put air in it. Well, your common air pump is not going to fill up these size tires. If you have a bigger fifth wheel like we do, H-rated or G-rated tires, usually you're going to have at least 110 PSI minimum. That's not something you can fill up at a standard gas station or with a standard handheld air pump. So we love using the Vi-Air portable air compressor. This was another day one purchase, and it's something that we use before we hit the road all the time. Before we hit the road in the morning, I can turn my tire pressure monitor system on. I can see all the air levels of my tires. We can just easily hook the Vi-Air pump up to our tires. It just connects to your truck battery or your camper battery. We can top them off and hit the road. It's also going to save you if you're going down the road and you start to get low air in one of your tires. You can just stop over, easily fill it up without having to worry about anything. So I think another day one must-have item is a good air compressor. And one great product that I use to help protect my tires and keep them lasting a long time is this Aerospace 303 Protectant. This is a great UV protectant that you want to put on the side of your tires frequently to protect them from sun damage, dry rot, cracking, fading, and all kinds of things like that. And the 303 is not only good for just tires, it's good for your vehicle's dash, all the rubber around your camper, the gaskets, decals, and just anything that you want to protect from the sun. Been using this a long time. 303 Aerospace Protectant, it's a must. So we try to do everything we can to protect our tires and prevent blowouts, but things still happen. So what happens if you do get a blowout and you need to change your tire? You may have a self-leveling hydraulic system like we do that you can kind of use to help raise the tires up off the ground, but I still recommend carrying some sort of jack with you. We like to just carry a 12-ton bottle jack. It's plenty strong enough to get the job done. This is where some of that extra wood will come in handy. You can stick it under there, you can jack up the camper, get the tire changed, and be back on the road without a problem. Now, of course, having like a big floor jack is great, but when you're trying to watch your weight as a full-timer, that's not something I want to travel with. So having the smaller, less weight bottle jack is something I recommend for RVers because it's just a little bit more portable, lightweight, and it's still going to get the job done. And of course, to change a tire, you're going to need two things. You're going to need a breaker bar and a pretty heavy duty torque wrench. I like to carry both of these. I don't recommend using your torque wrench to break the lug nuts, so I like to carry a breaker bar. You can also carry an impact driver or impact wrench, which we have as well. We'll talk about that later. We're also going to get into some other tools that I carry as well. But just having a basic breaker bar and a nice torque wrench. This torque wrench right here goes up to 250 pounds. That's going to get the job done to torque down your tires afterwards. Make sure you consult your owner's manual to see what the lug nuts need to be torqued down to. And make sure you have the correct sockets for your lug nuts, and make sure that they're the deep fitting sockets, because if you have the shorter sockets, they're not going to get in the lug nuts. So, but this convenient little socket set right here is great for the tires and other things around the RV. So just, again, check out what size lug nuts you have, and whether you just get one socket or a small socket set like this, that's going to fit on those lug nuts so you're prepared for when that does happen. Okay, let's go ahead and jump into the electrical side of your RV. Now this one's not too difficult. Most of the time when you purchase your RV, it's going to come with either a 50 amp or 30 amp cord. We do carry an extension cord for that. We do carry another 30-foot section of 50 amp cord. Again, because we have been in a site, just like the water hose or sewer, sometimes where you can't reach where it needs to go, we've had to use this actual 50 amp extension cord right here. So it's not necessarily a given, but you may find that you will get to a site eventually and you cannot plug in because you just don't have enough cord to reach. So it doesn't hurt to carry another section of extension. If it's a 30 amp or 50 amp, whatever your camper is, I do recommend carrying a little bit more extension cord for that. And you may get to a site, and if you have a 50 amp RV, that you may find the site is only 30 amps. So you have to carry what's called these dog bones, and they call them that because, well, you know, they look like dog bones. These are going to be power adapters that are going to allow your RV to go from either 50 amp down to 30 amp pedestal, or if you're mooch docking at somebody's house and you need to go all the way down to even 110, you can see they have all the adapters for that. I do recommend though that if you do mooch dock and you do plug into basically a regular wall socket 110, that you do that with a heavy duty extension cord. So if you do this, try to make the cord as short as possible and try to make it an extremely heavy duty extension cord that you use if you're going to plug straight into a wall socket 110. So, but these will come in handy. You're going to need these at some point. You're going to need these power adapters, so I definitely recommend traveling with those. Now, for the most important thing probably to have for your RV day one when you first start out is having a good surge protector. And I don't just mean basic surge protector. Go out and get yourself a good EMS surge protector, electrical management system. This is something that you want to plug into the campsite pedestal before you even hook up your power cord. You can plug these EMS systems in. It's going to run through the pedestal and check all sorts of things. It's going to make sure it's grounded completely. It's going to make sure it doesn't have any open circuits. It's going to make sure that that power pedestal is good to hook up to your RV. And if it's not, it's going to have error codes. It's going to show you. And you go ahead and do this. It usually takes about 2 minutes before you even hook power up to your RV. After it does all of its safety checks, then you can hook your power cord up, plug your RV in, and go from there. Not only that, but this is also going to save you from any power surges that may go through the campground, lightning strikes, things like that. It's going to end up sacrificing itself and protect all of your appliances in your RV because nobody wants to replace expensive appliances in your RV. Now, we have the Progressive Industries 50 amp EMS right here. Now, with our EMS system, basically it'll end up sacrificing itself if there ever is a giant power surge. It'll protect the camper, but after that it will be shot and it will be useless. Now, hey, I spent $300 on that. I've had it for 4 years. It did its job. That's fine. But I have seen that there are some better ones out there now. I think specifically a company called Watchdog And if you do have the same thing with like that, a power surge with that company's, it will not ruin that surge protector. It can still be used again. Now, I'll go ahead and put links to both of these down below, as well as other surge protectors that I see people recommend. But no matter which one you go with, I definitely recommend getting a good EMS surge protector. Now, before I get into all the tools that I carry with me and things like that, let's go ahead and talk about some other random things that you need to carry with you, some good RV accessories and items. Number one, being a ladder. Now, most RVs have some sort of ladder usually attached to it to get to the roof, and that's good for that, but I still recommend carrying a ladder, and we like this telescoping ladder right here. This is one that we've actually had for just about 4 years now. It's held up well. Having a good ladder like this has come in handy numerous times for me, and the great thing is it's portable, it's small, and it's convenient to store. A couple other small random items that you should travel with. A 5-gallon bucket. This is going to come in handy for numerous things. A flashlight, or even more so, a headlamp. You're going to end up using this headlamp all the time, I guarantee you, when you're trying to get in your basement, check for leaks and fix things and do projects. Having a good headlamp, or even just walking around the campground, is pretty vital. Spare fire extinguishers. We actually have fire extinguishers in our vehicles. We have spare fire extinguishers in the RV. I know most RVs usually come with one fire extinguisher, but we like to have 2 others, one in the kitchen, one in our bedroom. That way we just have easier access to them if we need them. Dehumidifiers. This may not be so much for the weekend camper, but if you are a full-timer, having at least one big dehumidifier or a couple smaller ones spread out through the RV, extremely important. You got to fight mold, mildew. You want to keep that humidity down inside the camper. You don't want things getting wet and mold and mildew and things getting damaged. So dehumidifier is pretty much a must if you're going to live in your RV. Okay, tools. Well, as a full-time RVer, I don't have a garage anymore. I don't have a shed. So you got to kind of limit yourself with what tools you can carry. You got to keep your weight down. So while we do carry the basic tools, as you guys can see, a set of sockets, wrenches, screwdrivers, hammers, pliers. We even have a grease puller here, which is good for doing your bearings on your trailer. There's some other more specific tools. Again, we went over the big torque wrench. I also carry a smaller torque wrench, which is just a little bit more handy for smaller jobs, such as changing out your anode rod. If you have a Suburban water heater, you're going to need to change out that anode rod once a year, and that's also going to require a specific socket, and that is going to be a 1 1/16 inch socket. So do make sure you have that size socket with you, because this is something that's going to be regular maintenance with your RV. Probably about once a year, you're going to want to change out that anode rod. Now, depending on what tools you want to carry, it's going to vary for everybody. But I would recommend just a good tool bag with, your basic tools. Again, pliers, hammers, screwdrivers, everything that you would need in the house, basically. But to get into some more specific things that you should carry in an RV, and one of those would be a multimeter. You're going to find yourself a multimeter is going to come in extreme handy when you need to fix things. We've had to fix our microwave. I've had to fix some thermostats in the back of our dryer. Having a multimeter handy is always going to help with any kind of electrical project, as well as carrying a set of spare fuses. These RVs have random fuses all over the place. Not only in your fuse panel, but you're going to find random fuses in your basements and on some of your appliances and behind some of the walls. Knowing where these fuses are at is good, and then having a kit like this, so you pretty much are covered with any size fuse you need, it's going to come in handy. Definitely just recommend getting some sort of spare fuse kit. We've been traveling with this one since day one, and I've definitely had to use it a few times. And earlier when we were talking about tires, we were talking about torque wrenches. We had also mentioned a good impact wrench. Having the impact wrench is going to make the job around the RV, changing tires, changing out bolts, things like that, a lot faster. So I like this one. We have the Ryobi one just because we had happened to have a Ryobi blower already, and a Ryobi trimmer, and a Ryobi handheld air pump, which comes in handy for small little air things. But so we have this Ryobi impact driver, and we also just carry a basic drill, Craftsman drill. Again, a drill is going to come in handy for any basic project that you need to do around the RV. Now, some more RV related tools you're probably going to want to carry would be like a PEX cinch tool and PEX cutters. If you don't know what PEX is, that's the plumbing that's used throughout the RVs, the blue and red lines. So you're probably at some point going to have to end up doing some sort of water repair, leak repair, water modification in an RV. That's where the PEX cutters and the PEX cinch tool is going to come in handy. As well as I recommend carrying maybe a 5-foot section of PEX pipe. You're going to want to carry some shark bite clamps or any other sort of clamp that is made for PEX. So as you can see, I carry numerous PEX parts. connectors, elbows, things like that. That way I can basically handle any plumbing job. Now, speaking of projects, if you own an RV, there's usually lots of projects and maintenance to be done. So let's go ahead and touch base on some of the products that I use for maintenance and things like that. And let's go ahead and start off with just the tapes I carry. I carry numerous tapes because, well, there's always something that has to be taped up around here. This first one you see right here is Eternabond tape. This is great for if you get a puncture in your roof. This tape will last forever. It's extremely waterproof. I highly recommend it. In fact, you can even take this tape and redo your whole roof if you don't want to ever recaulk your roof, which is recommended every year. When you are doing any kind of sealant job or recaulking job on the RV, having some plastic scrapers, some metal scrapers are going to come in handy, so we carry these. And when it does come time to do the recaulking on your RV, whether it's the sidewalls or the roof, definitely recommend a good caulking gun, a good heavy-duty caulking gun. Speaking of the caulk that I carry, I like to carry ProFlex RV, and I like to carry Alpha Systems 1021 self-leveling lap sealant. The ProFlex RV is used for all of the sides of your RV, windows, everything like that that needs to be caulked, and the Alpha Systems is what you want to use on your roof when it's time to reseal your roof, which should be done about every year. Again, more videos in the description below. If you want to go check out videos on how to seal your camper, reseal it, recaulk it, all sorts of projects like that, you can check those out in the video description below. Again, we're trying to get through everything kind of quick here. Let's go back and check on some of the other tapes that I use. I carry some basic painter's tape with me, just basic, masking tape. I also carry this Gorilla tape right here. This stuff is heavy duty. If you ever need to cut your underbelly open, I've had to do that a few times. The Gorilla tape is great for on the underbelly. It's super strong and it's going to keep that underbelly sealed up after you've had to maybe open it up. It's great for other stuff as well. I also carry this HVAC foil tape around with me. This is great. You may want to go inside your camper and open up all your ducts. A lot of times they're not taped up very good and you're losing tons of energy in AC. It's blowing into your attic instead of blowing into your camper, and you may need to tape it up better. So this comes in handy. It's one of them that I carry with me everywhere, as well as basic electric tape. Anytime you need to do an electric project, anytime, just carrying electric tape is always important. But we also carry this waterproof tape right here, which we've actually had to use on a propane line. We had a small leak in a propane line. This waterproof tape is good for taping up gas lines or water lines. It's watertight, airtight. This will actually keep the gas line, if it's a small leak, from leaking out. And we also carry this gas pipe thread tape. And this is if you need to replace a regulator or do some kind of work with your propane tanks. We have changed one of our regulators on ours. And this is the kind of tape that, similar to plumber's tape, but this is the kind of tape that you'd want to wrap around that connection when doing that project. And of course, basic plumber's tape. Anytime you have a water hose and you need a nice tight connection, plumber's tape is going to come in handy as well. So these are all tapes that we carry and travel with. Of course, you can never have enough Bungees straps, ratchet straps. We have these all over the RV. We have some extra bungees in the truck. We have them in the basement. In fact, we installed some D-rings throughout the basement walls so we can actually bungee and strap everything down on travel days. Having numerous bungees and straps is going to come in handy like you wouldn't believe, especially on travel days when you're trying to secure certain things in the RV. Now, there's numerous products, lubes, cleaners, things like that you can travel with. And I'll have a link below actually to a video I recently just did where I talk about our 5 favorite. We already mentioned the 303 Aerospace Protectant for all UV protectant. But one I will mention in this video is the Shield T9 because it's kind of the one-and-all product. If you're going to RV, this would be the one product that I recommend you do have. This is a rust and corrosion protector as well as a dry lube, so it's going to be good for your awnings, your jacks, your stairs, your axles, anywhere that you would use a wet lithium grease, anywhere you need a dry lube, anywhere you got a squeak, anywhere you want to protect from rust. The Shield T9 made from the Boeing company. Again, this stuff is excellent. We have a full video on that as well. Definitely recommend going and checking that out. But if you're going to carry one product with you when you start out RVing, this would be the one I highly recommend. Now, I'm sure there are many more numerous products out there, and I want to hear from you guys. Anything I missed or didn't touch base on that you use or that you think is an RV essential, let me know in the comments down below. Or again, if you're curious about more of these products that I talked about today and you want to know more in depth about them, you can either check out some of the video links I put down below or reach out to me and I'll try to answer your questions the best I can. As always, guys, we appreciate you stopping by and checking out the channel. And as always, get out there, start your full-time RV adventure because why wait? We'll see you guys next time.